I'm Patty Ann Brown, and you are in the strategy room. New polls are shedding light on what a potential general election matchup might look like come 2016. The latest Quinnipiac University swing state polling shows Hillary Clinton trailing some top Republicans in Colorado, Iowa, and Virginia. Here with reaction are Democratic strategist Joe Lestingi and Republican strategist Ashley Intartaglia. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So let's take a look at the polls in these three states. First, here's how Hillary fares against Jeb Bush. Bush beats Clinton by 5 points in Colorado, by 6 points in Iowa, and by 3 points in Virginia. Now let's look at Scott Walker. Walker beats Clinton by 9 points in Colorado, 8 points in Iowa, and by 3 points in Virginia. And last up, Marco Rubio, also strong. Rubio beating Clinton by 8 points in Colorado, 8 points in Iowa, and by 2 points in Virginia. If you total up the three states, Walker beats Hillary by the most, then Marco Rubio has the second best chance of beating her, and Bush in third. So, Ashley, should the GOP focus on these three candidates?
Well, I think they should, and I think that there are three big things that have led us to these poll numbers. And one is that while Hillary is trying desperately to make history, she's also fighting history. Only 4 times since the Civil War has a candidate of the same party as an 8-year sitting president won the White House, 3 times for Republicans and 1 for Democrats. Couple that with the 2 other things, which are that she's had scandal after scandal come out that she's not really ever answered for, and that the opposing party has basically taken up arms as a Republican firing squad against her. And I don't think it's any surprise that we're seeing her poll numbers dip the way that they are. And I'm honestly not sure that there's even the most talented of image consultants that could fix this problem at this point in the game.
Joe, Hillary Clinton down across the board in these states, and the poll does give some insight into why voters in these swing states don't trust her. 62% in Colorado say Hillary Clinton is not honest or trustworthy. 59% in Iowa find Clinton untrustworthy, and 55% of Virginians don't trust Hillary. How significant is that?
So at this point in time, it's not that big of a deal to the national race, but I will say this. The good thing about polls this early is that we can absolutely discount the head-to-head. If we look back at 2007, we should be talking about President Giuliani, but unfortunately we are not for him because he was leading at that point in time in polls similar like this. But what do these polls do for the Clinton campaign? It does show some weaknesses. Trustworthiness is a very important pillar that candidates have to win on, and they have to battle over that pillar. So what they can do is use these polls to go in and do deep dives to find out where their weak spots are and strengthen them up. We've got a year and a half before this election actually goes down, and by the way, this was only against 3 of those 20 possible nominees. So there's a lot of stuff to be worked out, but the good news is the more polls like this that come out, they can analyze them and use them to their advantage. The other thing we have with this poll that we aren't talking about is this is the only poll so far to show these types of numbers. We need to get a couple other polls to see if it is a trend.
Right, that's true. Well, Donald Trump, meanwhile, leading polls nationwide, but in these 3 crucial states, Trump is viewed unfavorably by an almost 2-to-1 margin. Ashley, how crucial are these 3 states in the 2016 general election?
Well, they're absolutely crucial. And to touch on something that Joe said, I think that the lack of trustworthiness is a big issue, especially if you look in that poll. It showed that in a matchup of Bernie Sanders against some of those other Republican candidates, he polled almost as well as Hillary. And that says something. And when it comes to Donald Trump, I think that the American people are starting to see, I think this hurts Hillary, they're starting to see that there are candidates out there on the opposite end of the spectrum that have the guts to really say what people are thinking, and that is not going to do anything but hurt her for the rest of the way.
Well, let's ask Joe about Bernie Sanders now. He actually lost by less in some of those head-to-head matchups than Hillary. I mean, should we stop focusing on Hillary and start looking at others?
No, I'm going to be honest with you. No, Bernie Sanders is not a viable option for the Democratic nomination, but I am going to say this. This exposes something that may be wrong with this poll. The fact that Bernie Sanders, who's a relative unknown in a lot of these states, is doing better, and we see this on the Republican side too. There are not 45% of Virginians who are going to be supporting Walker right off the bat. They just don't know who he is. Rubio does not have these numbers in Virginia. So there's something deeper in these numbers that needs to be fleshed out through the crosstabs here. There's a big partisan divide divide. I think this may have been a very polarized time to poll the electorate, which may be showing why Sanders is doing well and why Republicans with no name ID are doing well in these states. There's still a lot of questions out there. I will say this, though. Without these 3 states, there's no math for a Republican to win. So these states are critical. Democrats can put together a map that does not include all of these states. We've seen it in the past, so we can build that. But for Republicans, they've got to get back into Virginia, and they've got to get Colorado back in their camp, or they have no shot at the White House.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Joe Lestingi, Ashley Intartaglia, thank you both so much for joining us. And you can check out foxnews.com for more on the 2016 presidential race. I'm Patty Ann Brown. Thanks for watching.